the connection of every single tooth to various organs in the body. This is something that is, again, woo-woo in dentistry. But if you look at meridian charts, there is a meridian charts for the teeth and how they are connected to various organs. For example, this tooth is directly connected to your bladder and kidney meridian. And the wisdom teeth specifically are connected to your small intestine and heart meridian, and also to your central nervous system. So if you have any sort of stressor there, this will basically maybe block your small intestine, and then you maybe have SIBO, or you have skin issues, or your thyroid is connected. So you have to understand that this is just the autonomic nervous system, but this is not something you learn in university. It's just like teeth are just hard biting instruments, which they're not. They are really organs directly connected. It's like the first organ above your thyroid. They're directly connected to your brain.
So the wisdom teeth are directly connected in the meridian to the heart.
The heart meridian and the small intestine is the same in Chinese medicine. So that's the meridian system. It's also connected to your central nervous system. So if you have a chronic stressor there, it will affect your central nervous system. For some people, it's chronic activation of the sympathetic nervous system. They're just more in stress mode.
Yeah.
For others, it's activation of the parasympathetic. They're in toxic vagal syndrome. Same. They're just too lazy. So both is possible. It's not just always being in a fight and flight. Sometimes it's the opposite. Still not healthy. It's pathology. So you have to just see that person individually and see how you can help this person in the first place. It's not everyone is the same. We're all different.
What do you mean by the toxic vagal?
A toxic vagal that's actually a syndrome. So if the vagus nerve is one of the cranial nerves, it's actually the parasympathetic nerve, and is actually parts of the trigeminous nerve that goes to the teeth, this number 5 cranial nerve. Parts of it run with a part of the with the parasympathetic, with the vagal one. So there's parts of it. So if you have a silent inflammation in your jawbone or root canal sticking in, the toxins from there, they travel through the nerve called retrograde axonal transport and can then affect your vagal nerve and shut down the system, put you in stress, or in the other way around.
Wow. Okay. So
it's both stress, to be fair.
Yeah, and we don't know which one it's going to be. So it could be hypervigilance, or it could be just complete aloofness or apathy.
I think for most patients in our world, in the Western world, it's more towards the fight and flight, sympathetic side of things.
I could see that.
Yeah, but there are also other. You can have both sides, but this is probably go with 80-20. 80% is more sympathetic. They're just in chronic tension mode.
Yeah,
and don't even know why their sleep is bad, for example.
I remember when I was a personal trainer, I was training this physician, and he was like a super go-getter. And he's like, came in one day to the session with braces. And I was like, hey, Dr. Horowitz, you're wearing braces now? Like, what's going on? He's like, oh, I've been grinding my teeth for years, and I actually cracked my teeth at night. And I said, well, why is that? He's like, I don't know. I guess I'm just stressed. And even then, before my spiritual journey really started, I knew there was something in me that came alive where I was like, that's not normal. And there's a deeper journey for him to figure out why he's cracking his teeth from stress. Mm-hmm. And I just wonder, like, if he had amalgam fillings, or if he had some cavitations,
or root canal.
Like, this is why this podcast can change someone's life, because literally a cone beam is fairly inexpensive, right? Can you talk about that? Like the cone beam scan that's not, by the way, at your regular dentist. It's not there.
Yeah.
What is that? And how does that show people where they actually could have a cavitation? How do you get that false positive or the real positive for a cavitation?
Yeah.
What's that all about?
So cone beam scan is actually a 3-dimensional X-ray. And I just realized on this trip that is actually not even 10% of all dentists having such a machine in the office, because it's fairly expensive.
It's not there for most.
It's not
offices,
there. No,
yeah.
I thought it's more standardized.
No.
But again, me in the bubble, obviously I have that machine for more than a decade.
I got to drive like an hour away to go find an office.
That's why also when we plan cases for all patients flying from all over the world, we always just use the 2-dimensional panoramic and estimate if the wisdom teeth is gone, probably going to have it, and then we do the cone beam in the clinic. But always, cone beam is the gold standard to diagnose it. And on the cone beam, if you trained, that's another thing. At cavitation, for example, is nothing you learn in university. So that means if you have a dentist that does a cone beam scan, if he has never heard of cavitations, he won't diagnose this part in your jawbone. He just doesn't know about it. But what you see on there, if you're trained, and my tribe, the real biodentists, obviously they know, is just you see a dark area in the jawbone. Usually the jawbone is not the bone you would think of like with bone marrow and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's a spongeous bone. So you have these spongeous particles in there, and you can see them. Really looks like a sponge on an X-ray, but this part is then missing. So you only see there's an outside cortical part, the hard part of the bone. Inside is basically black, You can just see there's an osteolytic process in the jawbone. So there's missing bone. You cannot see from the 3-dimensional X-ray, is there fatty tissue in there? Is there hollow space in there? What is in there? This then just comes with the surgery. But this is what you would see, and this is the gold standard to really diagnose it. But again, caveat, you need someone who knows how to diagnose it and knows about it in the first place.
So why is that not taught in traditional training?
Actually, I don't know why it's not taught, but I think it's all so slow. So I did study dentistry. And like you said, my dad was a dentist too. And when I was in first year of dental school, my dad said, what you're just learning right now was already outdated when I learned it. Why are you still learning this? I'm like, I don't know, Dad. I just have to do this university right now. Just let me do that. So I didn't know. And I think it's the same. It just is so slow, this approach. And it takes decades, probably 50 years until it catches up. But there's tons of research for cavitations. There's actually one guy in Germany, or an older man. I call him the Yoda of cavitations. His name is Dr. Johann Lechner. He has devoted his life to study cavitations, and he has written a lot of great books, tons of research about it, and he's doing it for 45 years. He is still getting attacked by the university and everything about it, but he shows it clearly. He did so many samples of these surgeries, like sent it to labs and look for microbiology, what bacteria and viruses and fungi live in there, and parasites even. Also toxicological reports of it, so thousands of it. And he also did, I think, 12 to 14 peer-reviewed papers on it that are actually also connecting the cytokines in these cavitations with breast cancer and various other things in the body. No one is listening to it. And here comes the part where it's really interesting now, actually. There is in these cavitations, besides maybe being a breeding ground for anaerobic bacteria and parasites and fungi, there's a specific chemokine. So probably, I don't know how the audience in this case, but let's say
what's a chemokine?
You know what a cytokine is?
Yeah, inflammatory marker.
Yeah. So chemokine is another thing that how the body communicates. It's just chemokine, and there's a specific one to that area called RANTES, RANTES, or in medical literature it's called CCL5, chemokine lignin 5. So if you look into Google Scholar and do a search for CCL5 and multiple sclerosis or any sort of other symptom diagnosis, you will find literature, a lot of it. And this is where medical world is looking for this RANTES or CCL5, and dentistry has the solution, but they don't know about it. So we have to now finally merge it and tell them, and then we can help so many people with rheumatoid arthritis, with MS, with all these various different things. Because it's just another chronic silent inflammation in your body no one talks about. But we know chronic inflammation is triggered to chronic infection, chronic stress. And this is killer number one for chronic health issues, which is the epidemic of the 21st century.
Do you think the same people in the universities that are attacking the mentor, the Yoda, are the same people that say quotes like, well, just trust the science. Science has become their god, so it can never be questioned.
Yeah, they trust research. And science is obviously what comes next. So science is not research. Yeah, but those are the people, yeah. It's not on a paper, so it's not existing. But science is, in my opinion, is actually the stuff that we look for what has not yet been discovered.
Yeah.
That's science. And then research is basically the papers where we have agreed on with randomized controlled trials, for example, that this is always the case. So that's set. But this is, if we would stop there, there's no more progress. But progress is evolution, and it always goes like this, obviously. And we need to find next ways. I'm trailblazing the way for biodentistry for decades, just being curious. And I don't say that I know the full picture, and right now I do ceramic implants, but maybe 10 years from now, there's better solutions. Maybe we can grow teeth. I don't know. But if it's happening, I'm happy for it. So I'm not saying, I learned this 10 years ago, I'm sticking there.
Whoa. So you love that episode? You'll love the one on the screen. Click it and enjoy.